This is Sarah.
This is Jenna. We're from Name 3 Songs, and today we are getting candid with Gia Woods, someone that we've been a fan of for a while, so really excited to interview her today. She's a Persian-American artist, a native Angeleno, and an out and proud lesbian making dark electronic pop music. Gia burst into the scene in 2016 with her sapphic mega smash Only a Girl, and she recently released an EP which is full of dance songs from the decades.
And we're getting candid with Gia about how she's bringing her Persian heritage into her music, how writing and working with other women in music has impacted her in a positive way, and how she learned to be unapologetically herself no matter what. So let's go have a fun conversation with Gia.
Hi, Gia. Thank you for joining us today. We're super excited to talk to you.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
So jumping right into things, you just released an EP this month of November. We're both very big fans of this EP titled Your Engine, but you've been releasing music since 2015 with your first song, Only a Girl. So for you, how has it been finding yourself as an artist over the last 8 years of releasing music?
Oh my God. I feel like I'm still finding myself. I feel like every year I'm growing by a million. Every project that I've put out since 2015 has just been like another chapter, another layer of like who I'm growing into and like how I'm evolving. But it's been a great journey, honestly. Like I feel like it's been really steady, and like I've cultivated like a fan base since my like first song, which is so crazy because so many people don't experience that with their first song. So I've been lucky enough to like really have such a loyal fan base that's like grown with me. Like I feel like we're literally growing as I'm putting out music every year. And so it's been amazing, honestly. I'm really grateful.
I love that point also just about like growing with your fans, because I feel like not a lot of artists necessarily acknowledge that that's a thing, and I think like that it's so incredible to like feel that and have that connection between you and your fans. What has it been like growing as an artist but also as a person and seeing like these fans who have followed you from the beginning going through that growth with you?
It's honestly crazy. It feels like it's like being in preschool and then like going to college. Like it's such a crazy thing to like witness. You know what I mean? Because like I have such a close relationship with like my day ones, honestly. And like I've seen them go through different eras of their life, and they've seen my eras, and like they still get me, which is interesting because like I've changed so much since 2015. And like the fact that they still understand what I'm doing is pretty incredible. But it's also like I think it just shows how connected we are, because it's like it doesn't matter what style I'm doing or like what's the genre of music, like it's still me at the end of the day. And if they connect to like the things that I'm going through, which I hope, because I feel like a lot of things I'm going through, it does feel like the ones I've spoken to have at least been like reached out and been like, this is exactly like what is happening in my life. And a lot of these people discovered me when I was just like a shy coming out lesbian. So they've kind of witnessed like my growth even in, you know, my sexuality and my relationship. So I think as I'm going through my heartbreak or like another girlfriend or whatever, like I can tell that a lot of these people are going through the same thing too. So it's been, I think that's why we've like stayed connected also.
No, totally. It's so interesting because I feel like the age you started and like your age now, like it makes a lot of sense, because like they are things that like feel so personal, but yeah, at the same time, it's like, oh, everybody like has these moments of like breakups and first loves and like discovering themselves.
Oh my God,
And I feel like with Your Engine, like a lot of the topics that you cover on this in regards to like, I don't know, like even just like coming into yourself and like gaining confidence, like those are things that are so relatable, even if it's not necessarily the exact situation that everybody themselves has gone through.
100%. Like definitely. I mean, especially with this EP, like it's crazy because I feel like a lot of the projects that I write about are exactly like what I'm going through. And throughout the years, I never run out of things to talk about, which is why I think I've been able to do like project by project by project, because I'm always inspired by like the things that I'm going through because they're so personal to me, but also like music is my therapy. Like I've never gone to therapy. Like I've never had it there. I need to, honestly, but music's been my therapy. So it's been like every year I'm just doing like a full project of all these conversations like that I'm having with myself. And so awesome to be able to like continue to like have ideas and like things to say, because I don't ever want to make a project that's like doesn't have a purpose, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you had like your series of EPs, Heartbreak County Volume 1 and 2, and I feel like you kind of like really came into your sound and like your image with this era. And now we're in the Your Engine era. So like how do you feel like this is different? Like is this a continuation? Is this a new start for you? How has this been for you as an artist?
I definitely feel like it's a continuation because you're definitely right about like the volume 1 and volume 2 of Heartbreak County. That was kind of honestly the sound that I feel like I've been searching for. Like I feel like I've with the projects before, like they were definitely part of me and like genuine to me, but I always wanted to really explore like a dance project that wasn't like EDM, but also wasn't like, I don't know, not pop, because I love pop music so
Yeah.
much. And I feel like I finally locked in that like that code. Like I feel like I've been trying to figure it out. And so with Heartbreak County Volume 1 and Volume 2, I feel like I just got into it. And then Your Engine, I definitely feel like it's a continuation, and I still want to honestly continue this sound because there's just so many like eras of dance music. Like there's literally French dance, there's Italo dance, there's, I mean, the list goes on. There's so much. And so I'm so inspired by like all the genres of dance music. So I feel like I just want to kind of like keep it going because it's so inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really cool, like the ways in which you are pushing the boundaries of like what pop music could be like. Because I think, like, for a quote unquote like mainstream music listener, like this is a very good kind of entry into like what else the idea of pop has to offer, which I think is really cool. And another thing that I thought was really interesting was in a lot of your other interviews you've done in regards to this, you've talked about how like your Persian heritage is like really important to you, and incorporating it into like this EP was also really important for like inspiration. So I'm just curious if you can like expand a bit on how your heritage played a role in this EP specifically.
I would say specifically with like the song Gia Wood, that song was like the first song I actually wrote for this project. And it was also the first time I experienced with like a Persian sound. I don't know if you hear it, but it's like a sitar
Hmm.
Yeah.
synth in the song. And that was like the first kind of like taste of me trying to explore like what it would sound like putting dance music with Persian like heritage involved. And that was hard because like I did do a couple songs where I was really trying to like figure out combination, and so many producers don't know like Persian production.
Mm.
So it was really difficult to like figure out what the sweet spot is. And I think we figured out like less is more. And a lot of the melodies also like in some of the songs are definitely like Persian inspired as well. And that's also what I want to just continue to do. Like definitely for like the next wave of music, like I want to continue to like try and find ways to like include Persian music and like Persian influence, because I literally listened to Persian music growing up my entire
Mhm.
life. Like
That's
my
amazing.
parents are from Iran, they immigrated here. So like, yeah, it's crazy. Like I was the only one in the family born in Los
Oh,
Angeles,
wow.
California. So that was crazy for my parents, like to have like an American baby and like only speaking Farsi to
Yeah.
me growing up. So I was like a full Persian kid. Like I didn't like learn English until I was in second grade. So my heritage actually plays such a huge role in my life. Even though I was
Wow.
born in LA, like I didn't even know
Yeah.
how to speak English for like the first 2 years of my life.
Yeah. That's honestly so amazing to hear. And I feel like we're at a point in time where in media and in music, there's more room for people to celebrate their heritage if they're not Eurocentric, you know, if they're not white American necessarily, and celebrating different backgrounds. And, you know, in American media historically, there hasn't always been diversity. And on our podcast, we talk a lot about, you know, the idea of a pop star image and how this plays back and forth with the media and with people's perceptions and with the culture and society in general. And historically, in America, there's been a perception of what a pop star is. You know, it's someone who's thin but sexy. It's like a very perfect, very polished image. But a lot of times in America, that also meant like white and blonde. And so for you coming from like a Persian household, growing up in America, again, where there's not as much diversity, like what was your impression of like what a pop star is? And like, did you ever feel pressures as an artist to conform to something?
Ooh, these are all great questions. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like growing up, I feel like Madonna, for me, like she was like my idol. So like that's kind of what I saw when I thought of a pop star, and Britney Spears and like artists like that. But then I guess just like for myself, like I didn't really know how I was gonna like present myself as an artist
Yeah.
because I definitely grew up like really shy and like I was just a nervous kid.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really like have many friends and like so for me to think of myself out there was just like really crazy and hard to kind of imagine. And I think the first like year of my career, like you can kind of see that I didn't really have the confidence that I have now. And so I didn't really have like a perception, but I definitely think like being in the music industry has like shaped up my perception just through misogyny for sure. Like I've definitely worked with some, you know, people around and like here and there where they've given me some like advice and like notes. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I don't think I need to be this perfect person all the time. Like, I don't know. Like, I've had people be like, oh, work on your body image or like work on your makeup skills or work on, and like, I understand to a T, like, there's ways you can give someone like advice on like, hey girl, your makeup's not looking so hot or whatever. But I don't think like you need to be also so, you know, critical about it. Like that's the point of being an artist is like, I don't think nowadays, like it's about being perfect, even though that's kind of like what we were sold and saw like in the early 2000s, you know, it's like, I don't even think like people want that anymore. If anything, like I think people want real people and like real stories and real like, you know, conversations. And I think we still have these artists, I feel like, that are able to do like the full choreo and all of that stuff, which I love, don't get me wrong. But I think nowadays it's like nice that we have a balance because like I feel like for a moment there it felt like music was just so robotic and like soulless, you know?
Yeah. No, 100%. I feel like there's way more wiggle room for artists, and it's been really cool to see how much more wiggle room there has been for people who make like pop and pop adjacent music, because I feel like you said like for so long it was like so stringent of what to expect, and nowadays it's like you don't have to be Britney level fame to like be viewed as a pop star or to like have the
100%.
same sort of following of fans. And I think that that's just so incredible that like pop now is something that's kind of accessible on multiple levels.
100%. And I'm so happy about that because like there's a lot of people probably like myself growing up like being like I could never be like that. Like how can I do that? Like I wasn't a trained dancer growing up. Like I was a musician, like just playing my guitar and like writing songs alone in my bedroom. Like I don't know how to convert that to like a show, but like that's something I think, you know, as you grow as an artist and if you really go for this, like you naturally start picking things up and like finding your own lane in it. Like what do you like? What do you not like? Is there something that you wish you knew how to do that you can now do because of the job you have? And so like for me, I definitely feel like I didn't start as like a performer, but now I feel like I'm more of a performer if anything. So it's crazy to see like the shift in that, but that was something that like I naturally wanted to do on my own and like I figured out as I was growing in this like space. But I'm happy that it was never like, oh, you have to do this in order to like be a pop star, which I wouldn't accept that.
I think it's interesting because it's like for me and Sarah, like we talk a lot about specifically Britney Spears on our podcast because I think like for people our age, she was such a pivotal moment of like kind of shaping pop culture and shaping what we think of music. But I really like that you bring up Madonna as kind of like one of your inspirations. And again, like we didn't live through Madonna in the 80s, like in her peak era, but like looking back on it, like when we have done research on her,
Right?
I know she like was very much kind of an outsider for like a long time, and she was like so much pushing the boundaries. I just remember I think it was like a VMAs show where she performed like a virgin, and it was like she got so much criticism and backlash for this. It was just like unheard of. And it's wild looking at like while pop stars of the past have like conventionally fit into beauty standards, they've always done so in a way that is still pushing the envelope, whether it's sexuality or like what they're talking about in their lyrics or whatever. And I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I look up to her so much because I feel like so many artists like in the space have been like scared to like say certain things or do certain things because they're like, oh, that's too sexy, or like you shouldn't show so much skin, or like you shouldn't talk about sex in your music, or like whatever. And I think it's just like limiting. Like I think that like that's not life. Like life is what these people are talking about. Like everyone has sex, like everyone wants to feel sexy, like it's not a crime, it's not that crazy. And so I think it's weird that for so long people were like Madonna is a slut. It's like, so what if she's a slut? Like why do you guys care so much? Like she's making bangers, okay? That's all I care about. Like And she's opened up so many doors for like artists like myself to like express, you know, especially when it comes to like my sexuality and like, you know, just growing up and like also like a city and an environment where like there's just like so much more access to like how people are feeling and thinking nowadays within all of that.
Mhm.
And I think for her, she opened the doors for me to like feel,
Yeah.
you know, safe enough to like talk about the things I talk about
Yeah.
in my music. Because if it wasn't for her, I would have definitely felt like an outsider too. And like
Yeah.
in so many ways, I definitely feel like I do still, because sometimes I still get comments where people are like, why is Gia always so over the top sexy? Like, why is she do? It's like, I don't know, maybe because I was a very shy kid and I used to cover my body all the time. And now that I'm an adult, I like want to show it off. And I think it's just amazing that people care so much to like make a conversation about it like it's a bad
Yeah.
thing. Or like
Right.
even being a lesbian, like sometimes I get comments, especially like on TikTok, where they're like, I don't know how, but my videos have ended up on like the wrong
Oh,
side of
no.
TikTok sometimes.
Mhm.
And woo, those men out there, they come for you and they like say the nastiest things. And I'm just like, this is why I do what I do, is to like keep making myself more visible to people like you. Like, you're never gonna
Yeah.
get rid of people
Yeah.
like me. So
Yeah.
deal with it. And that's why I loved
Yeah. I mean, like that,
and that's on
it's so important, because I think also it's like, especially like white men, especially American white men, like so much so are like, oh, the world revolves around me, everything is for me. And it's like to the point where even if like a pop singer or any type of singer is a lesbian or bisexual or just like queer in any way, and they sexualize themselves in some way that the men think is for them, they're like, why is this not actually for me? And like and it's such a
Literally.
huge
It makes
thing of
them
just
so
like
mad.
like
like
yeah, like just the like objectification of women in the spotlight is so crazy. And when you essentially like choose to like objectify yourself, meaning just like sexualize, like be comfortable, be confident, men then take it and are like, I'm gonna fetishize your art even though this isn't for me. And so like, what has that experience been for you when men are like, oh, this is the male gaze, and you're like, it's literally not, like, you're too dumb to understand.
It's literally not.
It's not.
Oh my God. I feel like it happens to me in music and in real life. Like, because I'm so like feminine and like I play with my hair and my makeup and stuff, and I get hit on by men constantly. Like, actually way more than women. Like, people don't even know I'm a lesbian when I go out.
Yeah.
It's like actually annoying, which is why I had to make merch that said nobody knows I'm a lesbian, because like nobody fucking knows. It's so annoying. Oh my God, it pisses me off. So like I get hit on by men and I'm like, oh my God, this is not, I don't want you. Please get away from me. And then in my music, I definitely have gotten, you know, messages from like all across social media, just like men in my DMs being like, maybe I can be the guy.
Oh,
like,
no.
who knows?
Right,
And I'm like,
right.
no. Like,
I can
I
change
literally have
you.
a song called Only a Girl. Like, how? Right? Like, it's so bizarre, these men, the way they think. I'm just like always in shock, but I'm also like, go you have confidence, but like, no, like
Yeah.
it's never happening. So it's definitely annoying. And I think that like, you know, I guess you can't really do much about it, but like not give it attention. I definitely don't. I don't even open those DMs anymore. I used to be like, oh my God, a fan. And then I'm like, oh no, it's not a fan. It's a guy just trying to hook up with me. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting, like what you said a minute ago, of people sending messages being like, why are you like this? Why are you like this? Like, why are you so sexy? Like, why are you doing this? And I think it's like that in combination with like hate messages, in combination with men being weird. It's like, that's exactly why you're doing it. It's like to normalize that it's okay to do these things. It's okay to be who you want to be, represent yourself how you want to represent yourself, and to be a lesbian and not have to fit into the box. Because I think that's a thing, and like so much of like,
no, exactly.
Yeah, and I think so much of growing up in like American culture, but like American culture is so rooted in like really like conservatism and like Christianity, and a lot of it is like purity culture. Like there's a big purity culture of America, and it's like when they see a woman doing like what you're doing, they're like, oh, she's bad, she's evil, I must hate on her because she's quote unquote she's not supposed to do this.
100%. Yeah, I mean it's kind of insane to like think about that, because even people who are not conservative like still say certain things like, yeah, like she's showing too much skin or whatever, and I'm always just thinking like, didn't we just go through Madonna showing you like that doesn't matter, like she could do it. Like even Britney Spears, like all of these pop stars, I'm just like, how are these conversations still
Still
not even
happening.
dead within our age bracket? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like so weird to me. Like sometimes I feel like, you know, like my team, like they'll say suggestions where they're like, Gia, you should talk about how you grew up really shy and like covered your body all the time, which is why you want to be so like out there. But I'm like, why do I even have to share that side for people to be like, oh, now I get it? It's like, it shouldn't even
Yeah.
matter whether I did grow up like
Right,
that or
right.
didn't. Like, this is how I want to express myself. And like, you're only young, like, as you know, I feel like everyone should embrace that, you know, their beauty within this, like, especially this age, because it doesn't last forever. It's like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
should be able to wear what you want, look what you want. And also, you don't have to wear anything like, like makeup and like all these things that like society has brought into us. Like, I chose to wear, but I don't even feel like most of us have to. It's just like a
Right.
choice. And I think
Yeah.
this whole society that's around like beauty and like sexism, it's just like so backwards sometimes. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought we've like gone through this. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what is going on? But, you know, that's why I do what I do, because I'm like, I just want to just keep being myself, and hopefully that, you know, opens doors for other people to look up to me and be like, oh, I want to like express myself. Like, I love
Yeah.
that she's doing that. And like, you know, like I didn't really see that much happening when as I was like a teenager. I don't know why during that time. Like when I was younger, I was looking up to Madonna and Britney, but then when I was like 12, I don't know if I was paying attention to music that much. Like I just feel like
Yeah.
there wasn't that like person for me. So I think that's why I like went
Yeah,
inside.
we grew up in like a very like harsh time of misogyny and tabloid culture and all these things, and so I think it's like you kind of
Like Perez
yeah,
Hilton.
like you
That was
reach
the
that
worst.
age where all of a sudden everything that you're being fed is
No.
like, oh, I should hate other girls. And so you go from being like this pure innocent person who like can love Madonna and Britney Spears to all of a sudden being like, oh, every girl is my competition, whatever. And it like takes a while to get out of that space. And so like I think like
Yeah.
we're in this incredible time right now where like it's so clear to all of us that like that happened to us, that we're trying to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And we're getting pop musicians like you who are being like, guys, like caring about other
Over
women
here.
in multiple ways is fine. Like it's totally cool.
I know, it's so weird to me. It's so everything you're saying is so true. Like it's weird to me that like there's been competition amongst women. Like that just doesn't make any sense, especially with like everything we're going through and still rebuilding like our name in every community.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to see like women not wanting to like help other women out. Like that's just like
Yeah, yeah.
so disgusting to me. Like I could never be like that. Like especially as an artist, like as I'm growing, like the more that I grow, like I want to put on other female artists or like female DJs or any female creative period. Like I want to open the doors more to like that society, because like especially like within music, like there's not that many female producers. Like I don't know if you guys talk about that on this.
Oh yeah,
on
no,
this
the
a lot,
stats
but
are
like
super bad. It's like less than 5%. Like it's really, really
small.
low.
It's bad. And like that's why like especially for your engine, like that song, it's the title track also. It's like that song came together with like two girls like in a studio in Australia. Like and it was just all women, and it was like the coolest experience. And that was like one of my favorite sessions I've ever had, because I've never felt so like safe and just like
Yeah.
you know, like free to do whatever I want. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I felt like as a woman, like even like I produce, but I'm not like a professional like full on producer. So like sometimes when I'm in a room, like I've been scared to be like talk to a male producer and be like, can we try this, or like can we do that? And like I can tell they're like, you don't really know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I do know what I'm talking about. I just don't know how to explain it to you because you aren't open to hearing it. You know what I mean? Like there's been sessions and moments like that where I don't feel seen and like equal, but within that session I felt completely safe. And that's honestly how like a lot of the songs off this project like came together, was just from that one session. I was like, this is that kind of energy and like the kind of people I want to work with. And like a lot of people don't talk about how the music you make with the people you work on it with is some of the most like important sacred moments and like an artist's career and like longevity. Because like sometimes when you're working with like people who like they're not there because they like actually love you as an artist, they're just there to like get a producer cut or like a producer payment or whatever. Like that's also like something in the music industry that I want to like see change, because it shouldn't just be about getting a cut and like moving on to the next artist that's like big and like wanting to get a song with them. It's like, where are the producers that like want to start from like ground zero and like build something, like build a story and like be a part of like a bigger conversation? And like those are the kind of people like I enjoy working with. Like it's not just about the superficial things. Like I hate that side of the music industry. So.
No, 100%.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how I just went there, but my brain goes.
No,
it was all amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah, no, you hit on so many great points, and I think a lot of artists, even in our in our conversation so far, like haven't always brought up this aspect of it, of the producer side, and being comfortable in the studio is so important. And it's one of those things where it's like, you don't realize it until you're in it. Like you don't realize until you're like in a safe space where you feel so like, this is amazing. This is incredible. Like I can't believe I had to go through all these other instances and deal with all this other stuff just to get here. So it's really great to hear you talk about that, because it's like talking about it. Right, talking about it helps, lift everyone up collectively. But switching gears a little bit, I am really curious because, it's very clear how passionate you are about your music, and especially this project and the way it came together. But you, as like a visual artist, like you clearly have such an image for yourself, like on Instagram and all the photography and videography that you do. And it's, connected to your art as well. So I'm curious for you, do you feel like you are stepping into a persona as Gia Woods, the artist?
I feel like in the beginning, I felt like I kind of was, just because I felt like Gia and like my real name's Natalie, like we're two separate people at first, because I felt like I needed to create Gia as a persona in order to like unlock a side of me that I've always hid. Mm-hmm. Like it was always me, but I was always afraid to like really embody it. And so like creating Gia was like honestly my way of really being me. And like I actually always wanted to be called Gia, like since I was in second grade. Like I just knew I wanted that name. And so when I really started doing music professionally, I was like, that's the name, that is my name. And I feel like in the beginning I was just trying to find like myself within this persona that I've always felt. And then honestly, since the pandemic, I feel like I've really locked in like who that is and like how I want to be perceived, because like everything that I put out, like I want it to be genuine. And like I love like art in so many different ways. Like visuals are so important to me. Like that's how I express like the theme of the project, and like how I want people to like feel like they're a part of a world with me when I'm like releasing a song and not just like listening to the music. Like I want them to feel like they're a part of it with me. And so that's why I definitely think I'm really big on like visual aspects and like videos and stuff like that. And it really is like all from like within everything that I'm feeling and like picturing as I'm writing it and as I'm working on the music. And so I definitely feel like I've become that artist that I've always wanted to be as a little girl. And so like it's crazy to like find myself here, because if you told like little like me, like I would be like in shock that I've come so far within my confidence. I'm like, what the hell? Like it's crazy, because I used to be shy enough to like, I always tell this story because it's so embarrassing and stupid, but like I would like go to Starbucks as a kid, and like I would be so shy to like order a Starbucks drink, because it meant that I had to talk to someone, and like I would rehearse what I would say, like what my order was, like a million times in my head, because I was so shy to talk to someone. And so like to think about that version of me and this version of me where I'm just so unapologetic, I'm so myself, I'm like speaking on my relationships and like things like that. Like I never really like spoke about my sexuality at all. Like growing up, I was like completely closeted. So I think within my artistry, it's like really blended into like the woman I've always like known I was and that I was going to become. But like it took putting on this like persona at first to then blend it in with like who I am.
That's incredible.
So
it's honestly like so I'm just like,
empowering.
That's so cool because because like we talked to a lot of artists about sorry, I'm just so like, it's so incredible because like so many people use like the idea of like a stage persona to like become somebody else, because it's not even that they're like not comfortable in like who they are as an artist, but like to separate that. But I love how like you're saying that like you always knew you wanted to become this, and so it was like like you had to create this like otherworldly version of you to then fully like catapult yourself into, which I just think is like so amazing, because you were like, no, I don't need to like separate myself from my artist self. I need to become my artist self, because that is who I truly am. And I just think that's so empowering and incredible, because it's like you don't have to always separate those things. Like you can just be like, this is who I am and who I want to be, and I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like that's so important, because it's like, even like just like when I'm like on stage and off stage, like like when I'm performing, I'm like being this like extra version of myself that is a layer of me, but also I'm such a dork. Like I really am, and like I'm not afraid to show that. Like anytime I'm like doing interviews, or anytime I'm like, I do a lot of Zoom therapy sessions actually, like once a month with my core like cult early day one fans, and like they know me so well, and they know that like Gia has so many sides to her. Like she's not just like serious posing on it. Like I have so many sides to myself, and like I'm not afraid to show it, because like I think like sometimes people think, oh, because like, you know, you are this like other layer when you're like performing, or you're like you come off like a type of way in your photos, but when you're just talking to me, like you also see this other side that like that's something I never want to like hide, because that's how I'm human. Like I feel like if people are always like looking at these like pop stars, like they have to be this like serious person, or like, you know, really well mannered, like whatever, it's like, no, like that is just, that's not real. And I think people can see through that. And like I've definitely had disconnections with people, like with artists, where I've been like, oh, I love your music, but I don't feel like I actually connect with you like on like a personal level. And I think that's so important to like show and like not hide. And I think so many artists literally hide it, and I'm like, why? Like you're great, like you're awesome. Like I even have artist friends where I'm like, why aren't you showing this side of you? Like you're so funny. Like you know what I mean? Like I think people take themselves too seriously, and it's like, I don't think that that makes this job so stale. Like it just like, like not fun. I don't like that. That's why I love like artists, even like Taylor Swift. Like she like embodied like the quirkiness of like a pop star, which I love. Like I think that's just so incredible to like be such an amazing, profound like lyricist and like all these things, but then you're also just like the girl next door. Like I love that duality. When you find that in artists, it's really like personal, and like it makes you feel like, okay, this is why I love you beyond just your music. You know,
I like joke that Taylor's like lame as a compliment. I'm like, I'm like, it's a compliment.
It's okay. I know. I've heard. It's a compliment.
Like it's not in a mean way. Like, it's just like in like, this is somebody you were like as a fellow like lunchtime loser in middle school and high school. Like I get it. It's like
exactly. It's a compliment, honestly, because I'm like, you know, she's not the cool girl, but she is kind of the cool girl, because she's like dorky. Like she's embodying it, you know, which I love.
I honestly love everything you're saying. I feel like we could talk to you for like another hour just about everything. This has been so great. But we do have a nice little wrap-up question to end things. So the ethos of Name 3 Songs is to empower fangirls. And we think it's important to be a critical consumer, but also celebrate the things we love unapologetically. So Gia, what are you a fangirl of?
Ooh, like currently, or like
both?
Beyond, like
everything.
Hot 8 yoga is where it's at, you guys. It's so amazing. Like, especially right now because it's cold. I've been going there like every day, and I come out like sweaty and like disgusting, but I feel amazing. And like anytime I'm like going through like a depressive, like especially on my period, like when I'm on my period, I'm so beyond depressed. But hot 8 yoga comes to save the day every time. So that's what I'm obsessing over right now. I'm loving hot 8 yoga.
I love that. Like Gia's coming in hot with the tips for the girlies. Like
if you're on your period, go to hot 8 yoga, period.
Gia, this has been a wonderful conversation. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love her. She's amazing. I said this before, we've been fans of Gia for a minute. We really love her music, but it's just so nice getting to talk to artists and hear their story and connect with them about stuff that we're both passionate about.
Yeah. I just like, I love a girl's girl, and that is what Gia
Yes.
Woods is through and through. And I just think like we need more women like her in pop music because she is such an icon, and I love her devotion to like her day one fans and talking about that,
Yes.
and just like her yeah, just like their deep co-obsession with each other, I think is so beautiful and so necessary.
And also, like, the fact that she's kind of, like, taking the pop star image and spinning it on its head a little bit because she is leading into, like, the super sexy, but is also like, "I don't care what you think, like, I'm doing this for me
Yeah.
because I'm hot and I'm young." And she's also just like, "We're only young for so long, like, we gotta be hot while we can," and I love that.
No, and I also love how she was talking about how she grew up like quite shy, and how Gia Woods, the musician, is like this person that she always wanted to be, and she gets to be that person.
That is
Because,
so cool.
which I think is so cool because I feel like so many people like don't think about their onstage persona as like their dream version of themselves, and
Right,
she does. And I was
right.
like, that is so amazing. That
I
is
was like,
such a good
"This is literally
outlook.
manifesting."
Yeah.
This is, like, literally how manifesting works, like, you just pretend like you already are that person, and then you become it, like, it's
Yeah.
iconic.
No, it was so
It's
cool.
iconic.
It was so cool listening to her talk about that.
Tune in next year for me and Sarah's Hot Girl Upgrades. I'm already working on mine.
Oh my god.
So thank you guys for getting candid with us and Gia Woods. This has been Sarah and Jenna from Name 3 Songs.
And if you want your pop culture fix, so all things Saltburn and everything else going on in the world right now, you can listen to new episodes of Name 3 Songs podcast every Wednesday on all podcast platforms.